Back in the summer of 2019, Popeyes launched a new chicken sandwich that immediately became their best-selling item on the menu. The sandwich was so popular, in fact, that it started selling out quickly, leading to shortages, fistfights, even a few murders. People went absolutely insane for the chicken, and even with all the profits we saw, I started praying that Popeyes would never reach the same kind of popularity again. I've managed my local Popeyes for 7 years, and watching two middle-aged women beat each other with chairs trying to get the last sandwich we had in stock is by far the lowest point in my professional career. At least, it was the lowest so far, and likely to lose its spot since there was a rumor a new special sandwich was coming out in the fall. Due to my seniority and track record, Popeyes Corporate sometimes includes me and a few other managers in on focus groups. It was my turn to host, so 6 of us, 5 local managers and the representative from corporate, all met at my franchise at 4 in the morning. I used my key to let us in, but hurried everyone through the kitchen without turning on the dining room lights. Once the 6 of us were seated around a huge prep table in the back, the guy placed a metal case down in front of him. He was a small man, balding, dressed in a white shirt and tie. "My name is Peter," the guy from corporate told us. "Obviously that's not my real name, but that's what you're going to call me moving forward. I cannot stress this enough, but everything you see, hear, and taste today is top secret and under the intellectual property protection of Popeyes Incorporated." Peter followed up on his statement by passing out non-disclosure agreements that we each had to sign. Once those were finalized, he opened the metal case and extracted a laptop, then instructed us to gather around on the other side of the table so that we could see the screen. "I want to show you all some test footage so you have the idea of the effect that the product is having," Peter said. "Before we start," I jumped in, "can you tell us more about what the product actually is?" Peter shook his head. "Watch the video first, then questions." We all leaned in to see the screen. It was security footage of a small room where a dozen or so people were seated around a table. Each person had a plate in front of them with food and a drink bearing the familiar Popeyes logo. They appeared to be mid-meal. I was about to ask Peter what was the point of spying on people eating when a man began to twitch on screen. A woman soon joined him, falling out of her chair while another began laughing hysterically. The scene quickly devolved into chaos, with people fighting, jumping on the table, and then the video was cut short when a woman swung a chair high, hitting the security camera in the process. "What in the world was that?" asked Frank, one of the other managers. "That was a test of the first batch of the product," Peter replied, putting away the laptop. "Thankfully, now that we are at batch number 7, we think we've ironed out any issues. We'd like for you 5, some of our most reliable managers, to get a preview of the product before we begin general rollout next year." Peter opened the metal container and withdrew 5 smaller objects. They looked like futuristic Tupperware. I slid one to each of us and gestured for us to open the boxes. Inside of mine was a very fresh-looking, still-hot cheeseburger. I glanced around and saw that all 5 managers received identical burgers. "Is this beef?" another manager, Bobby, asked. "Legally, we can't call it that," Peter said. I poked the burger. "I mean, is it from a cow?" "It's lab-grown." "So vegan?" Frank asked. "Legally, we can't call it that," Peter repeated. "Please give it a try. We are excited to add cheeseburgers to the Popeyes menu. We think that this is going to be even bigger of a rollout than with the chicken sandwich in 2019. I picked up the burger but hesitated. I kept thinking of the scene we'd watched on the laptop. Peter was looking at me like he could read my mind. "Absolutely nothing to worry about," he said. "I just showed you all of that for transparency and to highlight how far we've come with the product. I guarantee this is going to be the best burger you've ever eaten." I took a bite. He was right. The flavor was unreal. A crashing wave of savory and salty and smoky notes that swept me up and dragged me away deep into happiness. I took another bite, reveling in the crunch of the pickle and the onion and the heat from the unusual but perfect sauce and the meat. I can't describe it. The taste, the texture, they were all the best I'd ever experienced. I went to take another bite and realized that I'd finished the burger. I looked around feeling half in a daze. All the other managers were finished as well and staring at each other with the same slack-jawed look that I felt on my own face. Peter curiously reached into his pocket and took out a stopwatch. He activated it with a click and sat on the end of the table next to the big metal case. Nothing happened for several seconds. Then Frank spoke. "More," he said, reaching towards his neighbor's plate. "Is there more here? You have to give us more." The owner of the plate, a woman named Catherine, slapped Frank's hand away and pulled the dish up to her face so she could lick the few flecks of remaining sauce. We all followed her cue and did the same. I was hit with that rush of flavor again, but only for an instant. Then all the crumbs and drips and bits were gone, and I felt like I was starving. "Give me another," I heard myself tell Peter. "There's some sauce left on your hand," Frank said, grabbing my arm, his eyes wide and bloodshot. I tried to yank my hand back, but he sank his teeth into my palm before I could. I yelled and punched Frank in the jaw, knocking him on the floor. "We need more," someone yelled. It might have been me. Somebody was trying to take the crumbs that had fallen off my shirt. A fist connected with the back of my head. I had someone in a chokehold, and I think I was screaming or crying or laughing. The last thing I remembered seeing before blacking out was Peter taking a gas mask out of the metal container, then hitting a hidden button. Hazy gas filled the room, and I felt my vision blur, then go dark. When I woke up, we were all seated around the table again. Peter was going around with a first aid kit and a glasses of water. "Is everyone awake?" he asked. "Good. First thing, you're all okay. Craving for the product can be powerful, but it is fleeting. You should avoid red meat in the future, though. Reminding your taste buds of the product could cause a flare-up." "What did you do to us?" Frank asked, rubbing his bruised jaw. "I thought you said the product was ready." "It is, and it isn't. I told you it would be the best burger you ever had, and I don't think anyone here would disagree. The main issue is that we need the craving to be less intense, but long-lasting. I had high hopes that this match would nail that, but I'm afraid it's back to the drawing lab." I looked down at the bite marks on my hand. You can't just give this to customers. There will be riots. People will die." Peter shrugged. "Sometimes that's the price of doing business, but don't worry. We'll continue to tweak the product, and we will let you know when it's ready." That morning with the product was 6 months ago. I'm breaking my NDA by talking about this, but I can't keep it going any longer. It might be this year, or next, or maybe the one after, but soon enough, Popeyes is going to release a new product, a cheeseburger, and you will want it. I'm very afraid that it's going to be the best burger you've ever tasted.